Greetings, Taxers. This is Jason Samard of the Evil Empire, and this is the DnT report. We're going to go over some 5-0 deck lists from Modern Leagues from August 6th or something. Oh no, that would be the future. When is this from? Sorry, could have looked at this first. August 2nd. That makes a little more sense. Here we are. So first, we'd like to say congratulations to DH Gartland, who achieved a 5-0 with a deck list that is right after my own heart here, with 4 Blade Splicers, 4 Displacers, and 4 Thought Knots with the 4 Restos, so 8 4-drops, the speed of modern be damned. 2 Flicker Wisps, 4 Arbiters, 4 Thalias, 4 Thrabins, 2 Lone Missionaries, round out the creatures. So lots of enters the play making abilities like gaining 4 life in this environment with all these Phoenix decks and burn decks, and even humans being able to block and then blink it, take you far ahead and buy you lots of time against those decks. So I really like this. No Aether Vials in this version. We don't often see people who achieve 5-0 without the Aether Vials, except the occasional time that I do it, which is rare. But we see 24 land here, 1 Windbrisk Heights, 3 Mutavaults, 1 Flagstones, 4 Temples, 4 Ghost Quarters, 7 snow-covered plains, 2 Shevet Dunes, and 2 Sunbank Canyons. I find, so how many white sources? Sorry, 1, 2, 3, 10. So 13 white sources, right where I usually go. So if you are a fan, DH Gartland, say something in the comments to us, and so we can say congratulations. Introduce yourself. On the sideboard, we see 2 more Lone Missionaries, Eidolon of Rhetoric to slow things down. 1 spell per turn means you're going to have a hard time getting Arclight Phoenixes back, plus the 4 toughness means it's very hard to kill us. I've been enjoying playing that card some too. We see 1 Grafdigger's Cage and 4 Rest in Peace because we're in the summer of Hogaak, so, I'm surprised they only have this little. 1 Worship, 1 Crucible Worlds, which is really interesting. We got 4 Ghost Quarters. You can bring back Mutavaults against decks where that matters. 2 Sunbakes to keep drawing lands. So, I mean, I don't really play this in Taxes decks. I'd like to see how it played out, but, it's in there and it's something to think about. The usual 1 Gideon that we see often, 1 O-Ring, and 3 Stony Silences. So, I really like this deck. I thought it was pretty awesome to see it. Congratulations again, and if you like my style, this has got my stamp of approval big time. If you've been watching since back in the day on Nikachu, this is right up my alley. So yeah, congratulations again, DH Gartland. Then we find the Oinkinator coming in with blue-white in a very, very interesting list. 4 Aether Vials here, so for all those who need their vials, here we go. With 22 land. 2 Teferis. I'm seeing these where people can play them. A couple of them, I guess they shut down a lot of people's strategies. Deal with the problem permanence. I haven't played with it very much, so I know when people play it against me, sometimes it can really take over a game. Sometimes I just roll it over. So I'd like to see this deck in action, and I might spring and put this one together because it looks really interesting. 2 Apocryphites. I've played with these in Taxes before. I find them to be very with Aether Vials, right? You just get them out. They come in from whenever this. It's a 1/1 for 2 mana. If it ever comes into play from not being cast, it comes in with 3+1/+1 counters on it. And then when it dies, you exile it with 3 suspend counters, and then it goes like normal suspend. Every turn it'll count down, then it'll come back, and it'll come back with the +1/+1 counters. So you can surprise them with the Aether Vial. You can blink it with Soul Herder, and it would get an additional counter. No. Soul Herder, get a counter when you do that, yeah. And or just use Flicker Wisp on it. No Restos in this one or anything, but there's got a few ways to just ship this guy in, or just people are very surprised by it, and then you're happy to trade it with even like a bigger creature on your opponent's side there, like a hollow one. I mean, people don't really play that anymore, but or even Vengevine, like bringing that in and blocking a Vengevine with it. At least it's coming back, so you might be able to buy enough time. Aethersworn Canonist, so we're seeing people achieving 5-0s by slowing people down with their being able to cast multiple spells in one turn. 3 Canonists in this deck. 4 Flicker Wisps, 4 Giver of Ruins. Was there Givers in this other one? Yeah, no Giver of Ruins in this version. So that's, you know, so there's lots of ways to get it done. I mean, these are just 5-0s in leagues. I mean, that's not the best indicator, but you know, that's still, you're stringing together some a good amount of wins. You're probably playing against some pretty real decks in those matches. So where am I? Givers, 4 arbiters, 2 soul herders. So being able to exile whenever anything gets exiled, put a +1/+1 counter at the beginning of your end step. You may exile another permanent you control, another creature you control, excuse me, then return it to the battlefield. So if you go to your end step, you soul herder your flicker wisp. The soul herder gets bigger. The flicker wisp leaves, comes back, and gets to flicker something, which will not come back to the beginning of the next end step on your opponent's next turn. So you could rob them of a land. You can take away a creature, a planeswalker. They won't be able to use it for that turn. Then when it comes back, it'll, you know, maybe you can just attack it down with your flicker wisp and whatnot. 4 spell quellers, very good also with the Aethersworn Canonist. If you're able to blink your spell queller when they've already played another spell, that spell's gone forever. 3 Thalias, 2 Watcher for Tomorrow. I really like this card a lot. Blue and a colorless, 2/1 Hideaway, just like Windbrisk Heights. Everyone loves Hideaway. When the Watcher for Tomorrow leaves the battlefield, excuse me, put the exiled card from Hideaway into your hand. So this is leaves play. It's not if it dies. So you can play this thing, then flicker wisp it. You'll get the card that's hidden away, and then it'll come back in and hide away a new card. So you can just block it on their next attack or something, and you get that card as well. And we're not talking draw a card. You're looking at 4 and getting that card. And it's any card. It's a land. It's a spell. So, I mean, that's a powerful ability. 4 Path to Exiles to kill creatures. In the lands here, we're seeing 1 Gemstone Cavern, and I'm glad to see these in more and more decks. I mean, if you've got the ability to get away with it, like you don't have a lot of like double in this deck, like there is a lot of blue and white and stuff, but there's not a lot of cards that are just double white to cast or double blue or white and blue and nothing else. Everything is colorless, can pitch in on every spell you're playing with this deck. So having a few colorless lands is not the end of the world. So the 1 Field of Ruin, 1 Gemstone, and then those turn games where you're going second, this game can help you win games you never could win going second. 4 Ghost Quarters, 4 Hollowed Fountains, 4 Seachrome Coast, 2 Sheffet Dunes, 2 Silent Clearings, and 4 basics in the form of 1 island and 3 plains. So yeah, here we're seeing this kind of a split often, with the Dunes being able to give you an anthem and the Silent Clearing being able to sack to draw a card. See, yeah, blue-white really kind of got the shaft on the old lands there now. Like, I want to make a blue-white deck, and it's like, you don't get these things. You don't have access to those in blue-white. But anyways, I guess that's a small gripe, because blue-white got a lot of good stuff, as we can see. 3 Deputy Detentions in the sideboard, 1 Gideon, 1 Kitchen Finks, 2 Rest in Peace, 1 Teo Shield Mage. I don't know what this does. You have Hexproof, create an 0/3 Defender wall. Interesting. Well, I guess getting Hexproof for 3 mana and then having to do 5 damage to kill it is a good prospect. I can't imagine these walls. Oh, but then you can reset it after you make a couple walls. Yeah, interesting. Could be powerful. I'd love to know how much it helped. If you watch Oinkinator, let us know in the comments. If anyone's ever played with this, let me know, please. I'd love to know. 1 Geist. I love this card. I'd even want to maybe play a second one in the sideboard. This card is so good against some decks. 2 Rest in Pieces, 2 Grafdigger's Cages. We're not just ignoring Hogaak. We're just going because 2 mana is too slow, probably. 1 Mirroring Crusader, 2 Stony Silence, 1 Winds of Abandon. So those are all, some fairly usual assortment of sideboard choices for people who do well with the deck. And the other straight-up taxi kind of deck is Pock. Congratulations, Pock, for your 5-0 with Eldrazi, Thalia Stompy. We got the usual 26 creatures, including 22 creatures and 4 Spirit Guides to speed things up, being 4 Arbiters, 4 Displacers, and 4 Thought-Knots as Eldrazi's, Arbiters, Thalia, Little Thalias, and Big Thalias to slow our opponents down. Oh, and Smashers in the Eldrazi section. So it's really a good split between Eldrazi's and humans. So to be honest, I've seen Cavernous Souls lately in this deck a bit, and it's extremely good. Being able to cut down on a bit of Painlands, or is there no caves in this version? Oh, no Caves of Quellos instead. Oh, all Sheffet Dunes instead of Caves of Quellos. Well, interesting. Well, but oh goodness, did I just lose my train of thought? Oh, Cavern of Souls, being able to choose human or Eldrazi. So if you're up against a lot of blue-white, it's pretty helpful to be able to do that. Like, you could choose Eldrazi, you could use it for colorless for Eldrazi, or for, if you have extra colorless, you could use it to make the Eldrazi uncounterable. You can choose human, and you can play all these creatures, everybody except for these Arbiters. So, I mean, that's something to think about. I really like that. So, we see 4 Chalice of the Voids, 1 Winds of Abandonment, 3 Dismembers, and 1 Warping Well. So, it's usually we see 4 to 5 removal spells of the Chalices, and these 26 creatures. And 25 lands, pretty standard. So, 4 Temples, 3 Gemstone Caverns, 4 Ghost Quarters, Shefadoon's Clearings, 4 Snow-Covered Plains, 1 Waste. I don't really care for the waste in this one, but, teach their own, whatever it takes. 3 Rest in Pieces as the only sideboard stuff there. 3 Honor Guards. I really like 4 in this deck because I find humans to be atrocious. So I really want to maximize my chances. I always play humans every tournament, once or twice. Warping Well, Karn, Scion of Urza for card advantage. I don't really dig it, but it must be doing good. I see it often in this type of deck. 3 Stony Silences, 2 Disenchants, 1 Worship. So, pretty close to what we see usually with this deck. Wafel does a slightly different version of this. That's, but this deck still, if you've invested in it, it's still very good. If you can get it together, it's a good deck to play. Xerism is playing an Esper deck. I'm just going to go over it quickly, give you an idea of what else you could do if you just like more of the Flicker Wisp stuff. So again, the Watcher of Tomorrows, Wasteland Stranglers, to be able to process and give -3/-3. So just put a card from exile that your opponent controls and to kill something. Using them with Flicker Wisp, being able to exile that card and then process it, and so they lose multiple permanents. It's really dirty. Spell Quellers, Tide Hollows, a couple Snapcasters for your Path Exiles and Force Negations, and then some Ephemerates so that you can bounce it and then rebound it and do it again. This deck looks pretty bonkers. What else? Ulamog's Nullifier. So for 4 mana, you play this thing flying. When it enters, you got to put 2 cards their opponent controls that are in exile into their graveyard in order to counter a spell for a 40-cast 2/3 flying creature. So I mean, you could do lots of very interesting things with this deck. Again, 2 Teferis. Yeah, I thought it was pretty neat. You guys can just pause it and really give it a good look if you want. I'm just gonna go through it quickly because it's not really what we play. And then somebody achieved a 5-0 with another Martyr of Sands Snow Whitish kind of deck, Soul Sisters as it's called. So with the Giver of Runes, Martyr Sands, Ranger of Eos, and Captain Rangers, Sarah's Ascendants, Squadron Hawks, 1 Walking Ballista, which can be grabbed by either of those, pretty dirty. 1 Ajani and 1 Elspeth, 3 Path Exiles, 2 Mind Stones, Banishing Light, 2 Rest in Peace, 2 On Thin Ice, 24 lands. I include this because it's good to look at what other strategies do, especially if you enjoy mono white. It's good to see, especially sideboard as well. Take a good look through their sideboard to see if there's any cards that's like, oh, you know what, they're getting it done with that. I don't really see too much that probably helps us in ours, but again, we see Eidolons though. That this has been in almost everybody's sideboard who achieved 5-0. Damping Sphere, I've been thinking more about trying this card out. I was really down on it before, but if you put a good clock out, I guess it slows those decks down. So Celestial Purge I think is really good right now. So those are decks those are tax decks, and kind of our cousin type decks. I thought that would be interesting, so they achieved 5-0. So congratulations to each of those pilots of those decks, and we'll see you next time on the DnT report. So until then, don't forget to make them pay.